The stars shimmered cold and quiet above the Andralis cluster, and within the silver halls of the Imperial Command Spire, Lord Cornex stood motionless before the galactic chart, his six-fingered hand hovering above a blinking red light on the edge of the grid, an unremarkable system marked Sol 3, known locally as Earth. He narrowed his dark eyes, his thoughts sharp. Reports said the planet was primitive, its people divided, its skies unguarded, yet something about its sudden leap in technology over the last 100 planetary cycles troubled him. Energy bursts had been recorded from their moon, and quantum distortions around their orbit didn't match the behavior of any known species under Empire surveillance. The High Council had dismissed it as background noise, but Cornex trusted patterns more than politics. He ordered an observation probe to be sent, a small, sleek drone, no bigger than a human vehicle, equipped with high-level scanning arrays and the standard subjugation notice, a glowing metallic cube containing the Empire's terms of surrender, translated into the local dialects of Earth, a mere formality before annexation. The probe slipped into warp, vanishing with a ripple of light, and silence followed. The silence lasted too long. Hours turned to a full rotation, and the data stream remained blank. Then the probe disappeared entirely, not lost, not destroyed, erased, even from the Empire's own long-distance recorders. Its transdimensional tether had been severed with surgical precision, not by weaponry, but by something they didn't understand. Before the analysts could recover from the confusion, an encrypted signal arrived on the Empire's most protected frequency, one used only by the inner circle of Imperial Command. No one should have had access to it, not even the Empire's allies, let alone a minor planet on the outer rim of the galactic spiral. Screens blinked across the spire, alarms silent, warning lights flaring red, and a single message scrolled slowly across every monitor, translated perfectly into the Empire's own ancient tongue: "Do not come here. This is your first and final warning." The room stood still. No one moved. Lord Cornex stared at the message for a long time. No species had ever dared threaten the Empire in such a manner, not the warlike Drelkins, not the mind-binding Salith, not even the star-forged machines of the core wastes. Earth had done so without hesitation. The analyst, a young officer named Keth, his voice shaking, asked if it was a joke, perhaps a hacking anomaly, but Cornex silenced him with a gesture. "No," the strategist said softly, "this is deliberate. Calculated. They knew we were watching." He ordered immediate scans of the Earth system, but the results were disturbing. There were no warships, no planetary defenses visible from orbit, no signs of an organized space fleet. And yet, the distortion fields around Earth's orbit were so dense, the sensors began returning false readings and system errors, as if something was intentionally obscuring the data. "Begin mobilization," Cornex said, turning away from the screen, his voice cold and sure. "I want a war fleet at Sol 3 in 2 standard rotations. We'll see what these primitives are hiding." Within hours, a fleet of over 300 Imperial ships began moving toward Earth cruisers, destroyers, and one dreadnought, the Vengeance of Stars, a weaponized city built to erase civilizations. Earth would be given a final chance to surrender, as protocol demanded. The mood aboard the flagship was confident, almost bored. The crew joked about collecting relics and souvenirs from the primitive blue planet. But in a small, dark chamber beneath Antarctica, hidden under miles of ice, the real heart of Earth's defense stirred. A room filled with quiet minds and glowing data readouts watched the incoming fleet. Project Winterfire, Earth's most secret military directive, had predicted this day. After decades of silent preparation, of pretending to be weak while developing technologies far beyond current galactic norms, Earth was ready. The world above, fractured by nations and conflict, was only a mask. In the shadows, humanity had united under a single hidden command, the Directorate. Earth's true power had never been shown. They had developed cloaking fields that bent perception itself, weapons that could collapse ships without firing a shot, and the most dangerous device of all, the Silence Protocol, a weapon not of fire or force, but of erasure, a compact quantum core that could delete matter and data from existence entirely. It had no heat, no explosion, just absence. It had been tested once, years ago, on a rogue asteroid. The result had terrified Earth's own scientists. Nothing had remained. Not debris, not dust, not even the asteroid's gravitational pull. Now, as the Empire's fleet crossed the final light year, Earth's leaders spoke little. The time for speeches had passed. Instead, they activated the silent satellites, 12 small objects scattered across Earth's high orbit, invisible to all known sensors. Each contained one silence core. As the Imperial fleet entered Earth's orbit, sensors aboard their lead cruiser picked up nothing. The planet's skies were empty. No defense grid. No ships. Just clouds and blue oceans. It was too quiet. Admiral Kalen, the fleet commander, frowned as he studied the scans. "Where are their satellites?" she asked. "Where's their moon base? They've had decades. There should be more here." Before her second could reply, the ship shuddered. Not from an explosion, but from something missing. One of their forward cruisers, Talon's Edge, had vanished from the fleet formation. Not destroyed. Not disabled. Gone. No explosion, no escape pods, no radiation trace. One moment it was on screen, the next it wasn't. Just blank space. Then another ship, the Blade of Valor, blinked out. Then a third. Then 5 at once. Panic spread through the fleet. Communications jammed, systems glitched. It was like being picked off by a ghost. In the Imperial Command Center, the loss reports piled in, ship names, crew numbers, all gone. Lord Cornex watched the data flow, his jaw tightening. "How?" he muttered. "How is this possible?" But no one could answer. There were no energy signatures, no missile traces, not even sabotage. And then, as if summoned by the rising dread, the Empire's screens once again flickered with that same message, but now with a new line: "You were warned. Leave now, or follow them." The fleet didn't respond. Pride wouldn't let them. But fear had already begun to set in. They couldn't see the enemy. They couldn't even detect the weapon. Across the galaxy, civilizations had fallen to the Empire. Worlds had burned, fleets had knelt, but never, not once, had the Empire faced something it couldn't explain. Earth had just erased an entire strike force without showing its hand. No fanfare. No grand speeches. Just a warning. And then the silence. Earth had been watching the stars for a long time. And now the stars were watching back nervously. Beneath the thick ice sheets of Antarctica. In this frozen underworld, far from the eyes of ordinary humans, and certainly away from any Imperial spies, the heart of Earth's true defense beat steadily Project Winterfire. Here, scientists, soldiers, and commanders moved with quiet purpose, their faces lit by the soft glow of holographic displays and the hum of immense quantum reactors. Captain Lyra Voss stood among them, her eyes sharp as she studied the latest sensor readings. Outside, the massive Imperial fleet was closing fast, 300 ships hungry to claim Earth as just another prize in their growing empire. But inside this frozen fortress, Earth had secrets the galaxy had never seen. The disappearance of the Imperial probe was only the first sign of what humanity had become. Lyra's voice, steady but urgent, cut through the room as she spoke to the gathered commanders. "Our cloaking satellites are holding. Their sensors are blind to our presence. The silence protocols are ready. The fleet won't know what hit them." Around her, the air buzzed with nervous energy. This was no longer a test or drill. It was a battle for survival, and Earth was the hunted, not the hunter. But the hunters didn't know the traps lay beneath the ice, or the power humanity had harnessed in decades of quiet preparation. The warships outside orbited the planet, blind and confident, unaware that hidden battle stations orbited in perfect silence. The 12 orbital satellites housing the silence cores formed a ring, each one a sleeping beast ready to erase anything the Empire sent against them. On the surface, Earth's cities appeared divided and weak, just as the Empire had expected. But beneath the surface, humanity had united beyond politics and old grudges for this moment. Scientists had cracked quantum manipulation in ways that no one had dared. Imagine. The silence cores didn't explode or blast with fire. They pulled matter from existence itself, like a vacuum that erased everything inside a bubble of space. Entire warships could vanish without a trace, leaving no debris, no shockwave, only silence where there had been noise and life. The Imperial fleet was now within range. Admiral Kalen's frustration grew as her ships began to falter. The vengeance of stars, the dreadnought built to crush planets, had never faced anything like this. As her flagship sensors failed one by one, she ordered the fleet to regroup. "Hold formation," she commanded, but her voice barely carried over the rising tension. From the icy command center, Lyra watched the fleet break apart on her screen. Ships blinked out of existence, swallowed by the silence protocol before anyone on board could react. "They think this is a mistake," Lyra said quietly, "that we are weak, that we will kneel." But humanity was not kneeling. Not now. Not ever. Deep below the ice, the core of Project Winterfire was a marvel of engineering and hope. The neural fold weapon, capable of linking the minds of Earth's best pilots and strategists into a single, coordinated force. As the Imperial fleet faltered, human pilots launched sleek, silent fighters from hidden bases, striking with precision against vulnerable targets. Each attack was swift, surgical, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Earth's forces didn't need to match the Empire's numbers. They only needed to be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable. The tension in the command center was thick. The operators knew they were pushing limits. The silence protocols were exhausting their power reserves rapidly. One slip could reveal their location, or worse, allow the Empire's advanced AI to adapt and counterattack. But Earth's leaders had decided better to risk everything than become another lost world. As the battle unfolded, mysterious energy surges pulsed from Earth's orbit, interfering with Imperial communications and weapons targeting systems. Ships that tried to fire found their beams refracted or absorbed, their missiles lost in invisible storms of quantum disruption. The Empire's technology, the pride of 1,000 conquered worlds, faltered before a planet it once saw as weak. Meanwhile, in the depths of Antarctica, Lyra received reports from scout units monitoring the battlefield. "3 more cruisers vanished just now," she said, eyes wide, but voice calm. "They are retreating. No, they are terrified." But the battle was far from over. The Empire's dreadnought prepared its ultimate weapon, a planetary decimation beam capable of wiping entire continents off the map. If fired, it would not only kill billions but shatter Earth's defenses for generations. The tension snapped like a live wire in the command center. Lyra's heart pounded as the countdown began. They had seconds to act. In those moments, Earth's secret weapon, the Fortress Luna, hidden beneath the fractured surface of the moon, activated. Its ancient machinery stirred to life, sending gravitational waves through space, distorting the fabric of reality itself. The dreadnought's weapon faltered, the beam scattering harmlessly into space, and in a sudden, terrifying motion, the moon itself seemed to open like a giant mechanical flower, revealing hidden structures and weapons long forgotten by the galaxy. Earth's message was clear. This planet was no prize. It was a fortress. The dreadnought was caught in the moon's gravity web, pulled helplessly toward the sun, its crew powerless to stop their own destruction. The rest of the Imperial fleet turned to flee, their arrogance shattered by the power of a world they thought they could conquer easily. And beneath the ice, Earth's defenders exhaled a breath they had not realized they had been holding. The ice beneath the fire was no longer just a metaphor. It was the truth of humanity's survival, silent, cold, and deadly. As the last Imperial ships disappeared beyond the horizon, Lyra looked to the skies above, knowing the fight had only just begun. The galaxy had been warned, and Earth was ready. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly beyond the broken remains of the once proud Imperial fleet, now a ghostly scatter of vanished vessels and silent debris. The vengeance of stars, the dreadnought meant to crush Earth, had been hurled into the heart of the sun by a force none aboard could comprehend, leaving a chilling void where its terrifying power had once loomed. Among the scattered remnants, the surviving ships trembled in silent fear, their crews haunted by the inexplicable erasure of their comrades, and the ghostly warning that had echoed through their systems before the battle. We tried warning you. Now, you'll understand why we don't kneel. Commander Kalen, aboard the battered cruiser Ironclad Resolve, stared blankly at the flickering communication console, unable to shake the dread settling in her chest. Her voice was tight when she ordered a scan for any remaining threats, but the readings offered no comfort. Earth's defenses had vanished like shadows at dawn, leaving behind only a cold silence. Yet beneath that silence was a message more powerful than any weapon. It was a declaration of will, a promise that humanity refused to bow. In the Imperial Command Spire, Lord Cornex gathered his remaining generals and advisors in the war room, the mood heavy with shock and disbelief. Reports confirmed the loss of over 100 ships and thousands of lives, wiped out without a single shot fired in their defense. The words on the screen haunted him. You were warned. Leave now, or follow them. Cornex clenched his fists, furious at the humiliation, but also deeply curious. What kind of force had erased his fleet with such precision? His anger drove him to one desperate decision: deploy the planetary decimation beam, the vengeance of Star's final, devastating weapon, capable of erasing entire continents from existence. If Earth would not kneel, then it would be broken. But as the dreadnought charged its beam, an unexpected disruption shook the entire fleet. Every monitor flickered with a new, haunting message. This time, a calm, clear human voice broadcast to all ships and stations. You ignored the warnings. Now, you will see the cost. The voice was steady, almost gentle, but filled with undeniable authority. And then the moon above Earth, fractured and mysterious since the first scans, began to shift and move, revealing a hidden structure concealed beneath its surface. This was no natural satellite. It was Fortress Luna, Earth's last and greatest secret weapon, a weapon designed not just for defense, but for absolute control over the battlefield. As the fortress awoke, energy surged outward, bending space and gravity in strange, terrifying ways. The vengeance of Stars lost power, its beams scattering harmlessly into the void as its systems were torn apart by gravitational distortions. The dreadnought was trapped, helpless against a force it could neither understand nor resist. Trapped in a slow death spiral toward the sun, the ship became a symbol of Earth's unstoppable strength. The rest of the fleet scrambled to retreat, fear replacing pride in their hearts as they fled a planet that had never truly been a target, but a trap. Back on Earth, in the command centers, hidden beneath the ice, the leaders watched the victory unfold with cautious relief. They knew this was only the beginning. Project Winterfire had shown the galaxy that Earth would not surrender. Humanity had survived not by might alone, but by strategy, patience, and technology that defied expectations. But as reports came in of the shattered fleet limping back to Imperial space, something else began to happen. News spread of Earth's strength stirred hope and fear across the stars. Among the scattered systems controlled by the Empire, whispers of rebellion grew louder, fueled by the knowledge that even the mighty Empire could be stopped. Earth's message was clear. They were not just survivors, they were a force to be reckoned with. As the Imperial War Council convened in secret, a single ambassador was chosen to travel to Earth, carrying a fragile flag of truce. Ambassador Revan was cautious but curious, aware that this mission was as dangerous as any battle. Upon arrival, Earth's leaders welcomed him not as a conquered foe, but as an equal, speaking honestly about their intentions and the costs of arrogance. A Terran general, her eyes calm but fierce, explained their stance simply: your empire believed we were weak, scattered, and helpless. We were none of those things. We became the predators in the dark, watching and waiting for the moment when your pride blinded you. Revan listened closely, understanding that Earth was not an enemy to be destroyed but a power to be respected. The peace accord he carried was not just a treaty, but a turning point, a chance for two worlds to find balance. Yet, as he left Earth's surface, the general's parting words lingered in his mind like a shadow. We're not expanding because we're afraid. We wait for when the time is right. Far from the fragile peace, in hidden chambers deep beneath Fortress Luna, Earth's council met to discuss the future. The galaxy had changed, and new threats loomed on the horizon. Signals detected from beyond the known edges of space spoke of an empire bolder and more ruthless than the last. Earth was ready, not just to defend but to lead, to shape the coming battle for the stars. As the ashes of the broken Imperial fleet faded into history, humanity prepared for what came next, carrying a message not just of warning but of hope, that even in the darkest void, the fire of resistance could never be extinguished. Far from the shattered edges of the Empire's lost fleet, in the cold marble halls of the Imperial capital, a ripple of unrest stirred among the highest ranks. The defeat at Earth was more than a military loss. It was a blow to the very foundation of the Empire's pride and control. Lords and generals whispered behind closed doors, each weighing blame, fear, and opportunity. Lord Cornex, once a fierce advocate of swift conquest, found himself isolated, his vision questioned by the council. "We cannot allow this to be repeated," he insisted, pacing the chamber, voice sharp with frustration. "Earth is no longer a backwater planet. It is a fortress hiding lethal secrets. We must rethink everything." Yet his words fell on divided ears. Some saw this as a sign of weakness that could unravel centuries of dominance. Others saw a chance to seize power amid chaos. Among them was General Solara, a rising star known for ruthless tactics and cold calculations. She argued that the Empire must strike harder, deeper, before Earth's quiet strength spread like wildfire to other rebellious systems. "This is not just a battle," she warned. "It is a warning to all who dare oppose us. If we falter now, the entire empire will crumble." Her voice carried the weight of fear and ambition, stirring the council into heated debate. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the capital, whispers of rebellion grew louder. Agents loyal to Earth's cause moved like ghosts within Imperial ranks, spreading knowledge of the Silence Protocol and Fortress Luna's power. These echoes of resistance threatened to ignite insurrections across the galaxy, fracturing the Empire from within. Cornex understood the danger. To save the Empire, he would have to do what no leader dared, admit that Earth's power was real, respect it, and forge an uneasy alliance. But his rivals saw this as betrayal. Political intrigue tightened its grip as factions formed, plotting to use the Earth crisis for their own gain. As tensions flared, an unexpected transmission arrived from the distant edges of the Empire, a coded distress signal from a hidden research station on the frontier planet Vashara, one of the few places still loyal and untouched by the recent chaos. The message was brief but chilling: unknown force approaching. Technology unlike any seen. Request immediate support. Vashara may fall. The council fell silent, eyes darting nervously. Could this be another secret weapon like Earth's? Or something worse? Cornex seized the moment, proposing a mission to investigate, hoping to unite the fractured council against a common threat. He handpicked a team of elite operatives, including Solara, knowing their personal rivalry would push them to perform at their best or destroy each other trying. The journey to Vashara was tense and uncertain, with the ship's crew haunted by rumors and shadowy threats lurking beyond sensor range. Upon arrival, what they found was more terrifying than any had expected. The research station was in ruins, its crew missing or worse, and the planet itself distorted by strange energy fields that defied explanation. Scanners picked up echoes of vanished technology and worse traces of the Silence Protocol, Earth's deadly weapon, but twisted and amplified. Something or someone had reverse-engineered the technology and unleashed a force even more dangerous. In the distance, a dark fleet appeared, unlike any the Empire had catalogued. Ships that moved silently through space, warping reality around them, erasing entire star systems from existence. These were not Imperial ships, nor Earth's defenders. They were something else, an unknown enemy rising from the void, feeding on destruction and silence. The realization hit the Council's envoys hard. Earth's message had been a warning not just to the Empire, but to the galaxy. A greater threat loomed, and if ignored, it could consume all. Back on Earth, the news of the Dark Fleet's approach sent shockwaves through Project Winterfire. The silence that once protected them now felt fragile, as if the ice beneath the fire was cracking. The leaders convened urgently beneath Antarctica's ice sheets, their faces grim but determined. They had survived the Empire's wrath, but survival was no longer enough. They needed to prepare for a battle on a scale none had imagined. Lyra Voss, now promoted to oversee planetary defenses, stood before the council, her voice steady as she laid out the grim truth. The enemy we face now is not a single empire or species. It is the void itself, a force that consumes light, matter, and memory. Our technology can hide us, but it cannot stop the coming storm. The council debated fiercely, weighing alliances and sacrifices. Some feared calling on former imperial enemies, others argued for striking first before the darkness reached them. Yet all agreed on one point: Earth's message in the ashes was a call to unite. The galaxy's future depended on breaking old chains of hatred and fear. As preparations began, Lyra reached out through secure channels to Ambassador Revan, now Earth's liaison in Imperial space, to propose a fragile coalition. The path was dangerous, filled with mistrust and uncertainty, but the alternative was annihilation. Meanwhile, in the Empire's capital, Cornex faced his final challenge. Political enemies moved to remove him, blaming his caution for the Empire's humiliation. Yet he stood firm, delivering a speech that echoed through the marble halls. We face a darkness that no empire can face alone. The time for pride is over. The time for unity is now. Let Earth's strength remind us what survival demands: a new beginning, forged not in conquest, but in cooperation. The room held its breath, the echoes of his words stirring hope and fear. Outside, the stars watched silently, waiting to see if old enemies could become allies before the void consumed them all. The fate of countless worlds hung in balance, and the message in the ashes was clear. The fire of resistance burned not just in Earth, but in every heart willing to stand against the darkness. The galaxy had never seen a moment like this, when every world, every star system, every fleet and outpost stopped what it was doing and looked toward a single blue planet spinning quietly in the void. Earth, once considered a distant, insignificant world, had become the center of hope and fear, the beacon of defiance against a darkness creeping from the unknown edges of space. The day began with an uneasy calm. Space lanes were quieter than usual, ships holding their positions as messages flew faster than light, carrying news of the coming storm and the fragile alliance forged in desperation. On Earth, beneath the ice and among the cities rebuilt from ancient history and new hope, leaders prepared for the moment when all eyes would be upon them. Captain Lyra Voss, standing on the observation deck of the orbital fortress Luna, felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on her shoulders. Her gaze swept the stars where fleets gathered, imperial ships, once enemies, now flying side by side with Earth's defenders and representatives from other systems who had heard the warning and answered the call. The unknown threat, the dark fleet that erased entire worlds like whispers in the void, was moving closer, growing stronger, a shadow consuming light and life with a cold hunger no weapon had yet stopped. Earth's technology had slowed them, but it had not defeated them. The silence beneath the fire was beginning to crack. In the halls of the Imperial Council, Ambassador Revan stood firm, a symbol of the uneasy peace that had taken root. His role was more important than ever: to hold together fragile alliances, to remind former enemies that the survival of all depended on cooperation. As fleets coordinated their movements, shared intelligence, and prepared to face a common enemy, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Old wounds threatened to reopen, distrust whispered in the corridors of power, and yet the memory of Earth's defiance, the message in the ashes, kept leaders focused on the greater danger. The day's key moment came with the activation of the Galactic Defense Grid, a network of weapon platforms, shields, and communication arrays linked by Earth's technology and operated by a coalition crew of many species and cultures. From the cold deserts of Mars to the floating cities of Titan, from the hidden moons of the outer colonies to the core worlds, humanity's technology breathed new life into the ancient network, turning it into a shield against oblivion. As the Dark Fleet breached the outer edge of the system, sensors lit up with warning, ships dissolving into nothingness, stars flickering as if in pain, and whole sectors swallowed by an invisible storm. The battle that followed was unlike any before. It was not just a clash of weapons, but a war of wills, of minds pushing reality itself to its limits. Pilots linked through the neural fold weapon fought in perfect harmony, their ships weaving through space-time distortions to strike at the heart of the enemy. The silence protocols activated across the grid, creating bubbles of nothingness that swallowed the Dark Fleet's advance. Yet, even with all their strength, the defenders felt the pressure. The void was patient, relentless, and hungry. Hours stretched into days as the battle raged across light years, a deadly dance of survival and sacrifice. Earth's leaders coordinated from the hidden depths beneath Antarctica, sending commands and hope through encrypted channels, their faces drawn but unyielding. They knew the stakes failure meant not just the loss of a planet, but the end of countless civilizations. Among the defenders was Solara, once a fierce enemy of Earth, now commander of a joint fleet tasked with protecting the vital communication nodes. Her respect for Earth's strength had grown into something deeper, an understanding that survival required more than power. It demanded trust. As she fought alongside Lyra's pilots, a fragile friendship blossomed amid the chaos of war, a symbol of what could be achieved when old enemies became allies. In the darkest hour, when the void seemed poised to consume everything, the unexpected happened. A signal burst through the chaos, a pulse of energy from the depths of the galaxy, a beacon of ancient origin and immense power. The signal resonated with Earth's silence protocol, amplifying its reach and turning the tide. The Dark Fleet, caught in the expanding bubbles of nothingness, faltered and then shattered like glass under pressure. The shadow retreated, broken but not destroyed, forced to pull back into the depths from which it came. Victory was not complete, but it was enough. The galaxy breathed again. As the fleets regrouped and the skies cleared, the leaders of Earth and the Empire addressed the galaxy together for the first time. Their voices carried across systems, a message of warning and hope that the darkness was still out there, waiting, but so was the light of unity and resistance. Earth was no longer alone. The day the galaxy looked toward Earth was more than a battle won. It was the beginning of a new era. An era where old divisions would be challenged by the common threat, where courage and cooperation could shape the future. And as Lyra watched the stars, she knew the fire beneath the ice would keep burning quiet, cold, and fierce, ready to protect the galaxy from whatever darkness came next.